Welcome to our senior secondary biology, where we're going to take a look at the second last topic in grade 10 biology called respiration. So for those who might be interested in private tuitions, you can get in touch with me on these contact details. So most of the concepts we're going to take a look at you are already familiar with, because at a point or two we might have discussed them. For example, during dentition we talked about fermentation, where some microorganisms work or react or break down food to form some acid which causes tooth decay. So we're going to take a look at that process fermentation in this topic. Okay, so in short, there are a lot of things that we might have discussed, but here they're going to make sense, such that when you are revising, you'll be enjoying your notes now because you understand what respiration is all about. So before we can define what respiration is, the first thing is it has to be categorized. To be categorized is to be grouped. So there are two types of respirations. The first is called internal respiration. So the definition of internal respiration is different from the definition of another type of respiration. Okay, so for internal respiration, it is just the release of energy from food substances in living cells. So you eat food, then energy has to be extracted from that food or has to be released from that food. That's the whole point why you eat food, especially carbohydrates, so that you can have energy. Okay, so that process that removes energy or that releases energy from the food is called internal respiration. The second type of respiration is called external respiration. So external respiration is the process that makes oxygen available to living cells. So oxygen is not in our body normally, it is in the atmosphere. So that oxygen has to be taken into our bodies. So whatever the body does to make that to make it possible to make oxygen available in our bodies is called external respiration. So there are two types of external respiration. There is breathing, which is called ventilation, which is also called ventilation, and also gaseous exchange. Okay, so just like external respiration. Sorry if you have heard some noise. There are some rich kids here who are enjoying themselves driving in the road. All right, so there are two types of external respiration, like I was saying, breathing and gaseous exchange. So even internal respiration has types. So we're going to see all the types of internal respiration and the likes. So that will be our next focus. So let's just discuss the types of respiration using this chart here. So like we have discussed, there are two types of respirations: internal respiration, where energy is released inside living cells, and external respiration, which basically involves the intake of oxygen into our bodies. And for that to happen, energy is used. Okay, so how is energy used? So energy is used in the sense that for you to have oxygen in your body, you have to be breathing. To breathe, the rib cage has to move inwards and outwards. Okay, so that movement of rib cage requires energy. Okay, so that's one thing to note about external respiration. So if we go to internal respiration, there are two types also. There is what is called aerobic respiration. So in this aerobic respiration, oxygen is used and carbon dioxide and water are given out. Okay, so oxygen is going to be used, carbon dioxide and water are going to be given out. Then the other type of internal respiration is called anaerobic respiration. In this one, oxygen is not used. Okay, so if we go to external respiration, like we discussed, there are two types, that is breathing and gaseous exchange. Then anaerobic respiration, there are also two types. The first is called alcoholic fermentation, where alcohol is produced and carbon dioxide is produced in the process. Then there is also lactic fermentation. In this one, lactic acid is produced. So this is the same as that one which causes tooth decay, where an acid is going to be produced and the acid is going to corrode the enamel, it's going to dissolve the enamel. Okay, so this one we discussed it when talking about enzymes. You are going to see. So we're going to look at this, and this. Then in the next video we might look at these ones now. All right, let's continue. So we start with internal respiration, which occurs inside the mitochondria. Remember, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, meaning that it produces energy. By the way, for those students of mine who have a tendency of writing the function of mitochondria as it is called the powerhouse of the cell, that's not clear enough. Yes, it is called the powerhouse of the cell, so its function is to produce energy. Okay. The main substrate for internal respiration in most organisms is glucose. So what does it mean, the main substrate? So the main substrate, what it means is glucose is always used up, or is the one that is on the left side of any equation that has to do with internal respiration. So this glucose, sometimes it can react with oxygen, sometimes it is alone, but it's going to be used up to form energy. Okay. So there are two types of internal respiration, like we discussed, aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So we look at aerobic respiration. So aerobic respiration is just the release of energy from food in living cells in the presence of oxygen, or it is the respiration that that needs oxygen. As you can see, this definition, release of energy from food, is the definition for internal respiration. So you can also define aerobic respiration as the internal respiration that needs oxygen. Okay, so in this respiration, the amount of energy that is released is very high. Okay, as compared to other types of respiration, this one releases the highest amount of oxygen, of energy. Okay, if you compare aerobic respiration with other types of respiration, this one is the one that is on top in terms of the amount of energy that is given out. The byproducts produced are carbon dioxide and water. Okay, so when the aerobic respiration has happened, carbon dioxide and water are given out. So this occurs when there's enough supply of oxygen. So this is key. Okay, oxygen has to be enough in supply for aerobic respiration to occur. The weight and chemical equation for the reactions are as below. So the weight equation is this: glucose reacts with oxygen to produce carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Okay, if you look at this closely, you can see that this is the opposite of photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water reacts, then sunlight energy, which we usually put here, is needed to facilitate the reaction. Then glucose and oxygen are produced. Okay, so think of it in this way. When humans are doing respiration, they are giving out carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide, the plants take this carbon dioxide, they use it in photosynthesis to give out oxygen. Humans get this oxygen to use it in respiration to give out carbon dioxide. That's why we need plants, because we keep on exchanging. We give them carbon dioxide, they give us oxygen. Though at night it might change a bit because there's no photosynthesis, so plants don't give us oxygen. So it's not recommended to have plants inside your house at night, because plants also do respiration. So this is the chemical equation. So glucose chemically is written like this: C6H12O6, meaning that it is made of 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms. Then oxygen is usually oxygen is O2. Okay, but for this equation there are going to be 6 molecules of oxygen participating. Then what's going to be produced are 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 6 molecules of water plus energy. Okay, so yeah, this is expected of you to know. Even if you want to swat it, you can master this. So go to anaerobic respiration, which is the internal respiration that does not need oxygen, or that happens without oxygen. So this is the release of energy from food substance in living cells in the absence of oxygen. So there are two types of anaerobic respiration. The first is called alcoholic fermentation, and the second is called lactic acid fermentation. So let's take a look at alcoholic fermentation. So this is the release of energy from food substances in living cells in the absence of oxygen. This is the definition for anaerobic respiration, producing alcohol and carbon dioxide. So in short, alcoholic fermentation can also define it as it is a type of anaerobic respiration that produces alcohol and carbon dioxide. So this process releases a low amount of energy if you compare it to aerobic respiration. Okay. So this one works in the catalyst that we are familiar with, zymase. Remember the zymase, which is found in yeast. This zymase was used was discussed when we were talking about the application of enzymes in baking. We showed how zymase is going to break down glucose to give out carbon dioxide and alcohol. So this carbon dioxide is the one that is used or that raises the dough so that you have a dough, that one which you call a dough, which means a dough on dough. Hope you haven't lost you there. Yeah. So there's that dough that forms when you're baking. So that is as a result of the carbon dioxide which is beneath it. The carbon dioxide that forms after alcoholic fermentation, and that happens because of zymase. So the weight and chemical equation for alcoholic fermentations are given below. So the weight equation is glucose without oxygen is broken down with the help of enzyme zymase to form carbon dioxide and alcohol and also energy. Then the chemical, of course, glucose C6H12O6, carbon dioxide CO2, then alcohol is alcohol is C2H5OH. This is alcohol. So there are going to be two molecules of alcohol that are going to be formed, or two moles of alcohol that are going to be formed, plus energy. So this is the chemical equation. Again, you have to swatira if you are not doing chemistry, or if you don't remember your chemistry. So alcoholic fermentation is important in brewing and baking. Remember, brewing and baking. Remember, we discussed that the two products, carbon dioxide and alcohol is used in brewing. So the alcohol that is produced is the one that they get in brewing, in making beer. Then carbon dioxide is one that is used in baking. Okay. So we go to lactic acid fermentation. So this is the release of energy from food substance in living cells in the absence of oxygen, producing lactic acid as the only byproduct. Or it can be defined as the anaerobic respiration that produces lactic acid as the only byproduct. So the amount of energy released is lowest as compared to alcoholic fermentation and aerobic respiration. So aerobic respiration is on top when it comes to the amount of energy that is given out, then followed by alcoholic fermentation, then at last there is lactic acid fermentation. So the weight equation for lactic acid fermentation is glucose. Sorry, I was supposed to put an arrow here. Glucose produces lactic acid and energy. So in this one, only lactic acid is given out, and of course energy. So the chemical equation is this one. Glucose gives out, this is how lactic acid is written. The chemical formula for lactic acid is C3H6O3 plus energy. Again, you can swatira if you are not comfortable, if you don't remember chemistry. So I'm going to help you understand what happens in our bodies when we are exercising as connected to respiration. So normally when you start exercising, there is aerobic respiration happening because you are breathing in oxygen. Oxygen goes in your body and it breaks the food that you are from eating to form glucose. To form energy. Okay, so the glucose that you have eaten from your food is going to be broken down to form energy. As you continue exercising faster and faster, you may run out of oxygen. So when you run out of oxygen, what happens? There will be no oxygen in the muscles. So we're going to start from here where you don't have oxygen in your muscles. So instead of aerobic respiration happening, since there's no oxygen, lactic acid fermentation is going to start happening. And I want you to understand this because this question always comes in an exam concerning lactic acid, alcoholic fermentation. they usually come. They always come, so to put it, in exams. Okay, so as you continue exercising, since you don't have oxygen in your muscles, lactic acid is going to be formed because of lactic acid fermentation. Okay, the glucose is going to be it will be breaking down to form lactic acid. So this lactic acid is the one that contributes to the fatigue or the pain you feel when you're exercising. Okay, so what happens after that? When lactic acid has been produced due to lactic acid fermentation, blood might flow to the muscles. When blood flows to the muscles, blood will carry this lactic acid to the brain. When the blood reaches the brain is going to detect that this blood has lactic acid. So the brain will know that there is not enough oxygen in the muscles. Okay, so when the brain knows that there is no oxygen, it will tell the rib cage to breathe faster. So it will tell the rib cage to start moving up and down faster. That's why you start breathing fast so that there should be enough oxygen in the muscles. So once you breathe faster and oxygen supply is increased to the muscles, this oxygen is going to break the lactic acid and you feel less pain, and even the fatigue will reduce a bit. So you continue exercising, which again might end up depleting the levels of oxygen. So at any point when you keep on exercising, there is an amount of oxygen that is needed to break the lactic acid so that everything gets back to normal, so that the aerobic respiration starts again. So that amount of oxygen, for example, after you exercise, then you stop exercising, you need to breathe in faster so that you get enough oxygen to break all the lactic acid that are causing pain in your body, that are causing you to breathe faster and faster. Okay, so the amount of oxygen needed to break the lactic acid that has accumulated in your muscles is called oxygen debt. In Congolia oxygen, oxygen debt. Okay, now we finish this part of aerobic respiration and the friends by discussing ATP and its significance. So when that energy has been produced from aerobic respiration and from anaerobic respiration, that energy is not used right there and then. It is stored in form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So energy from respiration is not used directly by organism, but is used to produce ATP, adenosine triphosphate, by combining adenosine diphosphate and inorganic phosphate P. So this might sound gibberish or might be difficult to understand, but it's actually simple. So let's use this diagram to understand. So what happens is when energy has been formed from respiration, energy puts together this substance called ADP with a P. Okay, this P is phosphorus. So the I here is just to show that it's inorganic phosphate. So not phosphorus but phosphate, inorganic phosphate. So ADP will combine with this inorganic phosphate to form ATP. So ADP means adenosine diphosphate. Di means 2. So in ADP there are 2 phosphates. If you add another one, there will be 3 phosphates. So it will become adenosine 3 phosphates. 3 is tri. So adenosine diphosphate changes to adenosine triphosphate. So this energy acts like a glue. It glues the ADP and the phosphate. Okay. So now that's how the body keeps that energy in form of ATP. Okay. So now when the body needs that energy, the ADP and the P are separated so that we can get back the energy that we had stored. Okay, so when that happens, energy is given out. So when ATP is broken down to ADP, when ATP is broken down to ADP and P, energy is given out. So in short, you combine ADP and P, energy has to be there to combine them. When you break ADP and P, energy is given out, and that energy is the one that you are going to use. So what are the importances of ATP? First, ATP makes it possible for energy to be stored and transported. It also makes energy available when and where it is needed. So, for example, your energy can be produced at this part of your body. Then that energy can be put in terms of ATP. Then this ATP can be taken to where that energy is needed. then there the ATP can be broken to ADP and P so that that energy can be taken for usage. So that's the importance of ATP. So we're going to conclude this discussion by taking a look at 4 experiments to determine if respiration occurs in certain types of organisms and in certain types of environments. So we're going to start with experiment to demonstrate respiration in germinating seeds. So the key steps are this one, and this one. So before I can go into these steps, let me show you the full diagram of the experiment. So the experiment is made of 2 thermoflasks. So one on the left has board seeds in it, then one on the right has germinating seeds. Okay, before this is set up, there are 2 key things that have to be done. Okay, the first is you get the seeds, you put them in water. So you soak one set of seeds until they start germinating. So the reason why we soak them is so that they start germinating. When you soak or when you put a seed in water, it will start germinating. Okay, so this is what has to be done to come up with these germinating seeds. Okay, then for the other set of seeds, you boil it. So why do you boil it? And why do we want the other set to start germinating? So we want this set to start germinating because that's what we want to test. We want to see if respiration occurs. Then the other set of seeds is used as a control experiment. A control experiment is something that you do whose results you are sure of, so as to compare with the results of what you are testing. So this control experiment for boiled seeds, they are boiled so that we kill any processes that might be occurring that might be related, or that might be respiration. So in short, we want this not to be doing respiration, and we want to test if this is going to do respiration. If this is not going to do respiration, then it's going to give us the same results as this one. Okay, but if it gives different results, then we can think that respiration is occurring in here, since we know that respiration is not occurring in this control experiment. So this concept of control experiment should be in you, because whenever we're doing experiments, it's always going to be there. Okay, so after you do this, you soak both sets of seeds in disinfectant. So disinfectant is like the handsome tiger that was so common during coronavirus, the hand sanitizer, something that kills microorganisms. Okay, so that was just on light note, handsome tiger, as people were as that was the way people were pronouncing it during that time. Yeah, so coming back to the disinfectant, so both sets of seeds are put in the disinfectant to make sure that we kill microorganisms. Why do we want to kill microorganisms? We want the respiration to be occurring inside the seeds, not the microorganism that might be surrounding the seeds. So we are testing the seeds, not the microorganisms. So that's why we're putting both sets of seeds in the disinfectant. Okay, so then other than that, there are thermometers here. So the thermometers are measuring the temperature. So our expectation is that if respiration is occurring in here, then we expect the temperature to rise. Why should the temperature rise? Because the respiration is going to be giving out energy. Energy is going to increase the temperature, so we expect the temperature of this to rise. So you have to leave this setup for some hours. So at the end of the experiment, you are going to observe that the temperature in the flask containing both seeds will remain the same, or the temperature in the flask containing germinating seeds will increase. Why? Or what can we conclude? So energy is produced during respiration. Germinating seeds carry out respiration, while both seeds do not. Okay, this energy is the one that increases the temperature of the thermometer. So we go to experiment number 2, which is centered on demonstrating respiration in soil organisms. We want to see that if those small organisms in the soil do respiration. So one of the key steps to do is to heat one of the soil samples and leave the other one without heating. Why? We want to make sure that one sample which is going to be heated, is a control experiment so that we kill all organisms, all soil organisms, so that there is no any respiration occurring. So this is a setup. Okay, so the key parts are there's a drop of oil here in the capillary tube. Okay, then other than that, there is a petri dish containing heated soil, and of course the sodium hydroxide solution. What does sodium hydroxide solution do? Remember, we discussed the importance of sodium hydroxide solution when we were talking about photosynthesis, when we were testing if carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. So in short, it has to do with carbon dioxide, absorbing carbon dioxide, making sure that there is no carbon dioxide here which can affect the results of the experiment. Okay, so this side we're going to have a petri dish containing soil which is not heated, but the same setup, everything the same. Okay, so what's going to happen is if the microorganisms here do respiration, they need oxygen for them to do respiration. Okay, we're talking about aerobic respiration. Okay, so since they need oxygen, where are they going to get oxygen? They are going to get oxygen from the environment. Okay, so as they are breathing in oxygen, they are going to be drawing the oxygen from here. So this drop of soil has to be moving here if if there is respiration here. This has to be moving here as it is being sucked by what the breathing organisms. Then these organisms that are breathing, they will of course be releasing carbon dioxide, which might be absorbed by sodium hydroxide solution. So the results of the experiment won't be affected. So now there's an issue here. This one is a control. It has dead organisms because the soil has been heated. Well, this one is where we expect respiration to occur. So after everything is done, here's what we are going to observe. So sorry, this is just all right. So the observation is the oil drop the oil drop in the container having heated soil remains at the same position, while the one in the container having unheated soil moves inwards, meaning that the organisms sucking the air, breathing in the air. Okay, so that's why it is being sucked into the insides. Okay, the conclusion is soil containing living organisms that carry out respiration and use up oxygen in the process. The third experiment is centered on green plants. So normally plants are always doing respiration, but during daytime they do also photosynthesis, but at night they do respiration. So you have to, let me just say that again, they are always doing respiration. During daytime they do also photosynthesis, but at night they don't do photosynthesis, so there's only respiration. So for this experiment, you have to place the setup in a dark place to avoid photosynthesis from affecting the results. Why? Because if it's not in the dark, photosynthesis is also going to be happening. So the oxygen that is going to be released by photosynthesis, the oxygen that's going to the oxygen from photosynthesis is going to be used up by respiration. So the oxygen in the environment might not be used, and we can't see our drop of oil moving inside to show that there is something inside sucking the oxygen. Okay, and again the sodium hydroxide solution is going to absorb the carbon dioxide that's going to be released by the plant when it's pairing. So what are we going to observe? So definitely what we're going to observe is the drop of oil moving inwards. So the observation is the oil drop in the capillary tube moves inwards. The conclusion is the plant carries out respiration and uses up oxygen in the process. Finally, we look at the last one, which is about experiment to show that carbon dioxide is produced during respiration. So we want to see if carbon dioxide is given out during respiration. So this is a setup. We're going to use Mr. Rat here. Okay, so I've got container A and container B. So what is happening here is in container A here, the rat is going to be inhaling the air, okay, from container A. So once the air is inhaled, it's going to be exhaling, to be breathing out carbon dioxide. So it's going to be breathing in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide. So we this carbon dioxide that's going to be breathed out, it has to go like this, like this, like this. Then it will be in the lime water. Of course, some of it might go like this here, and of course here it has to dissolve, but we expect it to reach faster here because here it is being bubbled direct into the lime water, and like here where it has to be in the environment, and of course it has to be maybe absorbed by lime water. Okay, so we expect here to have more carbon dioxide if this process continues than here, and we expect here to we expect this rat is going to be taking in oxygen from here and giving out carbon dioxide from here. So if you leave this setup for, of course, make sure that Mr. Rat has eaten here because he's doing a good job here. So when you leave this experiment for some time, these are what you're going to observe. We're going to observe that the lime water here is going to turn milky. Let me say that again. The lime water is going to turn milky. So to turn milky, it's to be cloudish, to be whitish. So that's the identity test for carbon dioxide. Whenever carbon dioxide is bubbled in lime water, the lime water turns milky. Okay, so the lime water in container C is going to turn milky faster than the lime water in container A, meaning that the air that Mr. Rat is breathing out has more carbon dioxide than the air that Mr. Rat is breathing in. Okay, so meaning that respiration produces carbon dioxide because the air that comes out of this small mammal comes from respiration. So so the observation is the lime water in the container C turns milky earlier than one in A. And of course I explained that when a gas is bubbled into lime water and lime water turns milky, just know that the gas is carbon dioxide because that is the identity test for carbon dioxide. So the conclusion is that exhaled air contains more carbon dioxide than inhaled air. That is why the lime water in C turns milky earlier than in A. So what are the importances of respiration? So the energy released during respiration is used in the following processes. The first is maintenance of a constant body temperature. So it helps to make sure that your temperature is in balance. Second, it is used in reproduction. Okay, so when you want to have a baby, you need that energy. You can think of it in that way. Then the third is in cell division. For cell to divide, they need the energy. The fourth is in active transport. Remember, active transport, the movement of substances from or molecules from a region where they are highly concentrated to a region where they are low in concentrated, using what? Using energy. So that is active transport. The next is growth. For you to grow, energy also helps. Of course, the main nutrient that helps in growth is proteins. Yeah, but of course, the process also happens with the assistance of energy. So to remember these points, you can use a memory aid which is called Mr. Cog. Mr. Cog, where M is for maintenance of a constant body temperature, R is for reproduction, C is for cell division, A is for active transport, and G is for growth. So that's it. So this marks the end of the first part of respiration. In the next part, we are going to take a look at external respiration. Happy solving.